So, what does the US government think every citizen should know about its most defining conflict? Today, we're diving into the American Civil War, but we're doing it through a pretty unique lens the official questions of the US Civics test. This is the story the nation tells about itself. All right, let's jump right in with a question straight from the test. It's the most basic starting point you can get. Can you name the US war that was fought between the North and the South?
That's it. The Civil War. Just two words, but they represent a conflict that didn't just split the nation in two, it completely reforged it.
So, what was this war really about at its core? I mean, this was a nation literally divided against itself. It was a deep, violent disagreement that just ripped the country right down the middle. You had two sides with completely different visions for what America should be. On one side, you had the North, the Union, fighting to keep the country together as one nation. And on the other, you had the South, which formed the Confederacy, fighting to break away and create its own country. The very idea of the United States was hanging in the balance. And you really can't talk about the Civil War without talking about the man leading the Union through it all, the 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. The civics test asks a pretty straightforward question. Why is Abraham Lincoln so famous? Well, his actions during the war were some of the most important of any U.S. president ever. So what exactly did he do that was so monumental? Just think about this for a second. He saved the nation from literally collapsing. He freed millions of slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. He led the country through its absolute darkest, most terrifying hour. Any one of those things would define a presidency. Lincoln did it all. Now, to really get a handle on the war, it helps to look at a timeline. So let's just walk through some of the key moments that marked the beginning, the big turning points, and of course, the end of the fighting. So here's the war's whole story in 5 key moments. It all kicks off at Fort Sumter. Right in the middle of it all, the Emancipation Proclamation completely changes the very purpose of the war, making it about slavery. Then you have the Battle of Gettysburg, a massive military turning point for the Union. And finally, Sherman's march helps pave the way to the surrender at Appomattox, which brings all the bloodshed to a close. Okay, let's zoom in on what is arguably the single most important development of the entire war. This was a moment that didn't just change the conflict, it changed the very soul of America. I'm talking about the Emancipation Proclamation. And here's another one of those key questions from the civics test. It gets right to the heart of the war's moral and political transformation. What did this thing actually tangibly do? The answer is really precise. It was a presidential order that declared all slaves in the Confederate States, the ones in active rebellion, to be free. Now, that distinction is crucial. This was both a powerful moral statement and a major strategic move that weakened the Confederacy's war effort. And to really wrap your head around the sheer human scale of this, just look at this number, 3.5 million. That's how many enslaved people the proclamation declared to be free. This wasn't just some political document. It was an act of liberation that would change millions of lives and the entire future of the country. So when the war ended, it wasn't just about the fighting stopping. It was actually the beginning of a huge legal and social revolution. The Union's victory set the stage for permanent changes to the Constitution that would completely redefine what it means to be an American citizen. So the test asks, one more time, just to really hammer this point home. What U.S. war ended slavery? The Civil War. It's the definitive answer, plain and simple. But, ending the institution of slavery on the battlefield wasn't enough. That victory had to be written into the law of the land permanently. You see, ending slavery was really just the first step. That victory had to be cemented into the Constitution itself. This led to what we call the Reconstruction Amendments, which were designed to write the results of the war into the nation's highest law. And here they are. The 14th Amendment, absolutely revolutionary. It established birthright citizenship, saying for the first time that anyone born in the United States is a citizen, period. Then came the 15th Amendment, which gave all men the right to vote, regardless of their race. Together, these were supposed to be the legal bedrock for a brand new, more inclusive America. So, the war settled one massive question. America would stay one nation, indivisible. But in doing that, it opened up a brand new, equally profound question that, honestly, Americans have been wrestling with ever since. And that is the question, isn't it? The Civil War forced the country to ask what citizenship, freedom, and equality really mean. It's a question that is still being debated, defined, and fought for to this very day.